Okay, time to replace the head unit. And pop the door. Yep, pull the knob. You have to use a 1.5 millimeter Allen key. Goes into that little tiny hole down there. And you give it about 1/4 of a turn. There we go. And should pop right out. Okay, so the head unit's out. So to actually remove the wires, you have to push down on this little piece here. It's kind of like a 3-prong thing. To push it down and slide it forward, and the rest of the unit should pull right out. 2 more screws that have to come out. There's over here, right on here. Okay, so the screws don't come all the way out, but you loosen them off, and then you should be able just to pull the unit straight, more or less straight out. It's a little harder with one hand. But there we go. Okay, with the CD unit pulled out, there's a couple of things you need to do. First is there's a little arm here. I don't know if you can see it very well. But anyway, you pull that up. Let's see if we can. I'm not left-handed, so this is hard. There we go. So you pull that up, and should pull right out. I'll leave that in for a second. And then this other one, there's a little tab here. You pull that back and up. And that's all there is for that one. So you have blocks pulled out. There's the block that's still in the dash. You can see what it looks like. And that's what just came out of there. Okay, so now it's time to remove this little door here, the flap door. Some people say just break it off and stuff, but there are actually another way of doing it. If you take your flathead screwdriver and insert it right in here, there's a pin that you can see. It's actually got a bit of a spring wound around it right now. If you insert and turn your screwdriver, it should be just enough to actually separate the 2 pieces of plastic. And I've already done that over here, so you can see where this little pin is right there. That's already popped out of the hole. So I'm going to do the other side, and then it should. Okay, now that that hinge door is removed, we'll go and remove some of the trim on the right-hand side of the steering column and over top of the glove box. Okay, now that the trim's off, you can see there's four spots where the actual pins on the back of the trim go on the right-hand side piece over the glove box, and then there's the 2 pins holders that go for the other piece to the right side of the steering column. Anyway, so now there's a few screws to undo. It looks like a Phillips driver, and maybe here and down here, and then for the Dynavin install, you also have to take out this one. I'm not sure if this one is required for the removal of the carrier, but and then again for this one here, and then another one on here and in here. So once you remove that screw, you'll actually remove this whole trim piece, and it should just slide back and pop down. It's got a couple of catches here and back here. I think just fit in the holes there and there. Once that side panel's off, reach up underneath the glove box. You can slide that panel out that's underneath. It's got the 2 tabs back here that slide into the little brackets back here. Open up the glove box, and you should see there are clips that are attached to the piston mechanism on either side, and those clips come off. You can see how they're, hopefully you can see okay. A little hard for me to do this way. Yeah, it slides off towards the front if you've got the little cut groove on here. So it should slide off the pin, and there it is. So take those off. Once both clips are off, you come back up and you'll take the a little tab that's over top of the pin that connects the glove box to the dashboard. So we'll pull that black piece off the brass colored pin from both sides. Once you remove those two arms, the glove box can drop down even further, and you should be able to look up underneath and access the few screws that are going to have to be undone. A couple of brass ones. There's one there and one there, and I think a couple more silver colored ones over there. Once you pulled that cover out of the side, you come down here and you undo this bolt here, and it's a 7mm, I think, and we'll take that off. On the side of the dashboard there's another screw. Okay, so that screw doesn't need to be actually taken all the way out. This needs to be loosened off a good way, and that part should be loose. And then there's another screw down here on the bottom part that needs to be undone. You also have to take the screw off just to the right of the steering column. Okay, so now it's a case of starting to pull the whole panel away from the dash so that we can get this actual bracket out. Shouldn't be too difficult now. I think I've loosened off every screw that needs to be loose to get enough room. Okay, so the panel's out now. Get rid of that bracket so we can put in the Dynavin. Okay, so now that the dash is all pulled apart, I found some instructions that say to, I guess, leave this particular brass bracket on here, but there's another one down here that it says to actually remove. So I've gone and done that. Hopefully that those instructions will be correct and the Dynavin bracket will go in place. So it's basically going to slip in here. The lower bracket goes in behind the trim from what I understand. So this part down here, this little tab is going to go behind this, and this tab is going to go in here. So we'll see if that works. Okay, so I've got the bracket in finally. It's taken a little bit of effort. The organization of the bracket seems to be, you know, just behind the panel up at the top here, and on this side of the trim here, and then again behind the trim on the bottom, and it's like that on both sides. Once you get those organized, it seems to fit in. It's nice and snug, but I was able to get the center piece in and all the bolts in between too. So the bracket's nice tight fit. Hopefully the head unit will fit in equally as well. I've also run the microphone. That actually pulled the top down already. I haven't put the panel back up all the way just so I can get the placement right for the microphone here. But I popped out, I had a blank, and just put the microphone hanging down there. Ran the cable along here inside the headliner and out the front of the windshield up here near the mirror, and then tucked it in all the way across the top of the windshield, and then across here, and then down the side where it goes into the dashboard at the corner, and then runs across inside. And I've got it now coming out here. I've got a remote USB cable that I'm hooking up so that I can actually get the phone and whatever other USB devices I want. I'm going to run it into the center console. So I've actually pulled the console off. There's plenty of instructions you can find to get that information. I might show you how to put it back on, but anyway, as it is, I've got the console out already, and I've got it already wired up to come out the little hidden door. So, you know, close it, completely invisible, open it up, and I'll plug the iPhone and stuff in there. The nice thing about that is that once I plug it in, I'll just run the wire to my iPhone and have it in the console. It's got the space along here. I'll do that once put that all back together. So I have to run the USB connection. I'm actually hooking up two to actually run the wire to the back of the head unit. I thought if I ever have to take this center section out again, it'll be a lot easier to reach the this connection, you know, down here underneath the glove box than to actually reach the back of the head unit once it's in place. So I think that I'll probably have this connection up underneath the glove box somewhere, and that'll be how I change it out, so I can take off the console again if I need to without disassembling the head unit. Okay, so I just ran the GPS, and actually you can only make out kind of the bottom of it. It's up on the top where those two pieces of metal kind of meet, or they're welded at an angle. You can just make out the bottom of the GPS. It's magnetized, so it'll stick on the metal, and hopefully that's a good location. We'll find out. Okay, so the last part here, hopefully before we get the unit, is going to actually be to connect some of these wires up. So we'll start out with the microphone and plug that in, and there's the GPS antenna, and that goes up here. And then the actual original radio's antenna, which is this one. The USB cables, when I fed through from the center console, gets plugged into the back of the unit. Okay, so I plugged in the harness as well, the USB, and I actually did have the CAN bus interface hooked up, but I just wanted to make sure that everyone noticed that it just is plugged in on one side. There is actually another port on the other side, but just use the one that you've got, and it only has to go in the one side. So before actually sticking it into the dash, I want to make sure that it's going to work, and turned on.
And an abundance of activities. Experience vibrant seniors living with a world of choices. Book a personal tour today.
Sounds good so far. So yeah, I'll just have to play around with actually getting some stations and stuff. Promising right now. Okay, so the head unit's all installed. Just check to see how it starts up and stuff. Got the radio playing.